Centcourt MBA Festival, we naturally take a close look at those fellow classmates, the students that will be sharing the MBA experience with you. But what about the person at the front of the room, that curator of discussions that looks at One Belt, One Road supply chains, the future of work? Well, my guest for this session is one of the most influential management thinkers in the world and has been a professor at the London Business School for the last 24 years. It's a delight to welcome Julian Birkinshaw, the Deputy Dean of Programmes at London Business School. Julian, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure to be with you.
They always say, ask a busy person to take on a new project. And between running triathlons and skiing, and of course, 15 books, fast forward, becoming a better boss, reinventing management, you also find the time to head all of the degree programs, including the MBA. What do you enjoy most in both your leadership role and, of course, teaching at LBS?
Yeah, I mean, I've been at LBS, as you say, for most of my career, and I've been very active teaching in all our different programs. And the new challenge I wanted was to try to actually practice what I preach, which is to try to bring a little bit of entrepreneurial energy to changing and to developing and improving a well-established institution, because we've got plenty of sources of inertia at London Business School, as do all business schools. And I know everybody at the school, and I think I'm well positioned to try to help the school to move forward along some of the dimensions we're going to be talking about. In other words, to help LBS have a point of view and to enact a point of view on the future of business, because it's a very, very fast changing business world right now.
Well, as you say, the future of business, entrepreneurship, innovation, your background and expertise, all natural bedfellows at London Business School. How do you like to describe LBS to people?
So for me, London Business School is global, diverse, international, whichever word you want, first and foremost. We are a top business school where there is no one dominant nationality compared to most of our US competitors. But we also have this huge commitment to rigorous lifelong learning. I mean, of course, our faculty are all top experts, but we try to be on the practical and applied end of the spectrum in terms of taking that academic work, bringing it to life in the classroom, and then obviously, as I say, making sure that international, diverse bunch of students helps each other to see the world in exciting new ways. So that's the kind of the centerpiece of what London Business School is all about.
And the London, I'm assuming, that one of the most vibrant cities in the world has a special contribution to make.
Yeah. I mean, you quite rightly pick up on that, because that's the bit I didn't say. It's almost taken for granted that London Business School, we are what we say on the tin. But London as a hub is, as you say, both a sort of a metaphor for what we are in terms of it's a very entrepreneurial, trading, and diverse place. But we also want to make sure that we bring London to life for the students. So we have projects, we have local community work, we have companies in the London region that we do consulting projects with, and of course, all these different recruiters from the different sectors, from politics to finance to media to healthcare, they're all present in London, of course. It's a big destination. I forget the exact numbers, but it's something like 60% of our graduates end up taking jobs in the London area when they first come out.
The MBA program has been top ranked by the FT and just about every other publication since as long as I can remember. When you think about that and the overall portfolio, there's the Sloan program for slightly more senior managers, the exec MBA programs that you run. What do you see as some of the key strengths of the MBA program?
The MBA program specifically, I'm going to some degree repeat on what I said there about diverse and London and rigorous, but let me also pick up on some of the leadership qualities that we're looking for, because it seems to me that MBAs are typically in their late 20s. They've got enough world experience to understand how difficult it actually is to be successful in leading others and influencing people and making change happen. So our point of view is that we don't want to just give people the kind of the tools and techniques so that they can think and understand the world differently. We're trying to build that in experientially into the classroom. So the best way to learn about something important is to experience it. So we send all of our students, for example, on these global experiences, as well as a project in London. They go to somewhere interesting. They go to rural India. They go to townships in South Africa. And they're not just doing industrial tourism. They are working on real life business problems in these places to help those small companies to do their jobs better. They learn a great deal, of course, about themselves. And that's the sort of learning that stays with you forever, rather than some of the classroom learning, which is obviously a little bit more ephemeral.
As we think about some of those sectors that you mentioned, finance, healthcare, perhaps how artificial intelligence will impact technology in all of our lives, looking at the journey of an MBA student at London Business School, whether they complete the program in the typical 21 months or reduce it down to as little as 15 months, as you see them arrive on day one to that wonderful day of graduation, how do you ensure that alongside this discounted cash flow, the sort of experiential learning, it is a very personal journey of areas like leadership and personal development?
Yeah, and as you say, we need them to come out of the program. The median kind of graduating kind of cycle is about 18 months, if you see what I mean. Some say 21, very few finish in 15. We want them to come out as very different people who actually understand the world around them and themselves a whole lot better. So we start right at the beginning with courses around self-awareness, around understanding how they look at the world, their basic psychological profile, but how they also work with groups. And then we weave into the program all these professional development modules, all this career coaching work, as well as a lot of courses in these areas from our faculty. And the idea is, and this isn't just done at the beginning, then we come back to it, every few months. The idea is that at the end of that period, they understand themselves better. They figured out what they want to do with their lives in terms of the sort of sector they want to move into. But more than that, they also understand, how they're going to fit within those organizations. And of course, some of them go for big leadership roles, some of them go for more technical roles, some of them just want to go and start a business. And of course, we absolutely encourage that. A good 10 or 20% of our graduates now are going into the broadly the entrepreneurial sector. And that's, of course, a huge push for the future.
I know that Zoe McLaughlin and other colleagues in the career service do an incredible job in exploring so many different opportunities. If you were to sort of sit down with students on their final day, ready to graduate into the business world, and with all of your thoughts, books that include, reinventing management, what advice would you give them in terms of everything that they've learned and experienced at London Business School, and how they can then apply it to the subsequent roles they're taking on?
Yeah, I mean, we do this exercise on almost like personal biography. In other words, like write your story, almost like literally write your epitaph, as it were, looking sort of 30, 40, 50 years into the future. And I want them to know where they want to go. In other words, I need them to have not just, this is what I want to do in these next couple of years, but this is the journey I want to take myself on in the next 20 or 20 years. And, a lot of them have these huge entrepreneurial ambitions. They want to change the world for better. But they can't all get there in one go. So some of them, make a jump immediately. Some of them do absolutely take the well-established career tracks through finance or consulting or whatever. But at the back of their mind, they've got this point of view about where they want to get to. And of course, and it's very difficult to do, but we are absolutely trying to help people with lifelong learning. We're absolutely trying to help people with the idea that you can keep coming back to London Business School for little bite-sized pieces of learning along the way. At the particular points in their careers when, things get tough or they're on a big transition. So that's, at the heart of it is understanding themselves, their leadership qualities, and how they can then make a difference in society in whatever way they choose.
Right. In thinking of that epitaph, or sort of what the next 20, 30 years might look like, our viewers at Centre Court, of course, might be sitting down with the application to the London Business School MBA programme, which itself holds up a mirror, to reflect on their background and their experience and everything that they could do. As they would then come into the programme, there are so many things that they can do in the classroom, the electives that you offer, the clubs, the track. How do you then encourage them to explore, but perhaps also to make certain priorities, to get the most out of the experience?
Yeah. No, I mean, I've seen the data on this. And of course, in the first term, the students sign up for all of these different clubs, and some are professional clubs and some are more social or, pastime type clubs. And then, of course, that falls off because the first term, they're just doing a bit of everything. And then come January, February, they're starting to focus. So in some ways, I certainly I don't get directly involved in that. What I do, of course, is through our career services team, through our program offices, we are trying to work with the students as much individually as possible to help make sure that they don't lose sight of the priorities of getting their learning sorted. So I mean, when I say learning, I don't, of course, just mean classroom learning. There's plenty of learning that happens in the program that is not just in the classroom. But I do kind of understand this risk that they spread themselves too thin. And of course, then there's the whole peer pressure piece, right? I mean, they are with a group of people, and they often listen much more to their peers than they do to people like me. And those peers are then helping them to sort of stay focused on the real objective, which of course for most of them is understanding who they are and then taking that next step on their job ladder.
In terms of, you have an illustrious career as a professor, curating those discussions. How do you think about that with bringing together so many diverse voices, experiences from all over the world, as you said earlier? Are you curating to bring the best out of those discussions?
Yeah. So most of my teaching I do through electives. I don't teach in the core of the MBA. I teach these courses which cut across literally 10 or 12 different programs. So I have everything from the 22-year-old who's just come out of their undergrad through to the 50-year-old Sloan student, as you say. And what I'm trying to do there in that classroom is to help them to see the world through others, right? So, if I do my job well, it is when I am both able, through a single case study, to get the 45-year-old senior executive to bring his or her expertise to that discussion, and then to get the smart 21, 22-year-old asking the deliberately provocative questions about why do you do things in that way. Now, can I say that it always works? No, of course not. But we absolutely pride ourselves on the fact that these people are all in the classroom together. We don't artificially segregate out people according to the program they've joined us with. And for the most part, by the end of the course, they appreciate that. They absolutely say that this was a strength of the London Business School rather than a weakness.
Right. I mean, diversity is core DNA at London Business School. You from the 22-year-old to the 45-year-old across nationalities. Why is it so important? And what is the school doing to ensure that pipeline of applicants, whether on a gender basis or underrepresented groups?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we do have, as you would expect, huge emphasis on women in business and bringing along Black students of multiple ethnic origins. We have a huge out in business club for the LGBTQ plus community. We have faculty like Anitha Ratan, who is absolutely world leading in her research on trying to actually take inclusion and diversity seriously. And so it's been, in my lifetime at the school, it's really over the last 5 years that suddenly all of these different clubs have become part of the kind of the main story that we're telling the world. And I think we get actually a lot of people coming into the school because they see those strengths. So I'm not going to pretend this is easy, right? Because all of us are kind of in learning mode when it comes to taking inclusion and diversity actually seriously in the classroom and learning how to cope with the changes that are afoot in this area. So yeah, all I can say on that is it's important. I think that partly because of London and where it is in the world, and it's sort of almost like the philosophy of how people would conduct business in London, we have got a very inclusive and diverse attitude, and I work very hard to continue to kind of push that.
And that additional layer of inclusion and how that weaves in. You bring together, very smart, very talented individuals, and perhaps some candidates sort of think, well, I'm not working in the city, I'm not working for one of the major strategy consulting firms. Is there a place for me at London Business School? How do you like to sort of encourage them and maybe break down some of those inhibitions?
I mean, the way I position it is in my mind, and this is absolutely sort of live issue that I'm working on right now, is that, yeah, we will always cater to, the people who want to get the jobs in the big consultancies and the finance houses and so forth, but want to increasingly talk about two other areas, one of which, of course, is the whole tech digital entrepreneurial sector. That's a huge area of focus in London. Fintech is really, London is one of the capitals in the world for fintech. And then increasingly, of course, it is sustainability, diversity, inclusion, social enterprise. We are starting to see the recruiters, I mean, the big consultancies, for sure, some of the sort of niche consultancies in sustainability, and then some of the big companies hiring people in sustainability type roles. We are starting to see a significant increase in demand for students who want to go into those areas. And we absolutely want to promote that, because my thinking is, if we go big in those areas, then we will actually take everybody else with us as well. So you'll see much more of the talk in terms of how London positions itself, around, this profound impact. I'm going to state our purpose word for word: to profound impact on the way the world does business and the way that business impacts the world. This idea of business as a force for good, as an agent of positive change in the world. It's not just a slogan. It's absolutely going to be something we're building into all of our courses in the next couple of years.
Well, let me echo that statement: a profound impact on how the world does business, something that you've achieved through your research, through the many books that you've written. As you then think about graduate management education, how do you see it evolving in the coming years to respond to those challenges and needs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of critics out there who will say that business schools are a little bit out of date. We're not actually moving with the times. And my response to that is that, I mean, first of all, there is a lot of innovation happening sort of within courses anyway. A lot of our faculty just love bringing their most recent research or their most recent, consulting ideas, turning it into a case study, bringing it into the classroom. But I mean, I think the bigger answer is that, we want to have a point of view on where the business world is going. We want to therefore help, future leaders to be ready for that. And the big trends are, sustainability and purpose for the one piece. And then, no surprise at all, digitization, technological change as well. And so we want to be able to get our students understanding those trade-offs between, profit, people, and planet, in the face of all those headwinds of geopolitical fragmentation, but with all the benefits of technology as the enabler of making the progress we need. So in a nutshell, I'm kind of sort of sketching out the sort of the LBS point of view on the future of business. I can't claim that this is a unique point of view. Many business schools are talking this language, but I want us to really operationalize that through the courses that we teach and through the experiences that our students get. So I've said this already, but I'll just come back to it. This notion that learning through experience, experiential learning, seeing things, in real life, solving the problems of society, as it were, if we can actually put that into the heart of the experience, then I think that does help us to really fulfill that ambition.
Right. My final question, with over 20 years in the LBS classroom, walking down the corridors of undoubtedly one of the most beautiful campuses of any business school in the world, maybe even feeding the ducks in Regent's Park, as any of the viewers of Centre Court are thinking about their next steps, investing in their business education, what would your advice be to them, and how can they then connect with the school, with your colleagues, with students and alumni, to really better understand the culture that you've described?
Yeah, I mean, connecting with the school, I mean, we have huge numbers of admissions and career and recruitment events, which the details of which you can obviously find on our website. I guess in terms of the London Business School philosophy, and is it right for the students? I mean, the way I would position it is, think about where you want to go next in your career, and and what sort of alumni group, what sort of classmates do you want to have that can help you with that? And if your thoughts are at all that you want to live in multiple countries and you want to learn how to do business within a sort of a global community, then I think London Business School is the right place for you, because that is what we've that's our entire ethos, from the faculty to the student body to our alumni. The international diversity is really what sets us apart. And so for me, that is the question you should be asking, is where do I want to go? Not just, for my first job out, which may well be London, but doesn't have to be, but over the next 5 to 10 to 15 years, which parts of the world do I want to go and live and work in? Because, of course, we have huge numbers of Asian students now, as well as our historical strengths in Europe and America, and indeed South America. So that's our strength, and I hope that's exciting for the people who are watching that podcast, this video.
What I love about London Business School, whether I ask the graduates of the class of 2023 or go back to that class of, 1999, yeah, the enthusiasm that they express, and all of them say, I'd do it all over again. Yeah. What you've brought to London Business School in the last 20 plus years, to see so much energy and enthusiasm, it was wonderful to be able to capture that for Centre Court. So Dr. Birkinshaw, Professor Birkinshaw, thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thanks very much. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks.